friends, it's Deanna here today, and today I'm bringing you a nursing hack for the 90s dress. I am super excited about this one, so let's get started. Alright, so as some of you may know, my sister just recently had twins and she has been nursing them, but she wants something cute that she can go out in, but she also feels comfortable nursing. So when I saw someone on the Facebook page, on our Facebook page, which you should join so you can get some awesome inspiration like I did, I saw someone did a hack for the 90s dress to make it nursing friendly. And I thought this would be so great for my sister, so that is what I'm doing. I've got this gorgeous double brush poly from August Closet, and I am excited to get started and show you just exactly how I'm going to do this hack. Alright, so I already cut out my pattern and I cut it out just to size, but I did not cut out my front liner piece. That is the only thing I've got to cut out. This is not my front. Yeah, this is my front lining piece right here. So we're gonna cut that up. Everything else is gonna be the same. I'm gonna do something a little bit different for the lining piece. One thing I'm gonna say about this is that I would make sure that I have a fabric with really good stretch and recovery for the inside piece, for the lining piece. Now, the other pieces should be fine with whatever fabric you're using. The only thing you're gonna be doing is that front piece is gonna get lifted up once you are nursing or whatnot. So you may wanna have something that has good recovery. You don't want something that's gonna stretch out and then it's gonna look all weird. I would say double brush poly is great for this. For the top layer, I think French terry, hatchy, any kind of those stretch fabrics will be just fine for the top layer. For the inner layer, I would probably use something heavier like double brush poly or some kind of sports fabric, something, I don't know about Liverpool, that's kind of thick for an inside layer. Maybe even some lining fabric, something that will keep that stretch though. So you want to make sure that you find something that's going to be nice and sturdy. So, like I said, I cut my pattern normally, and now we're gonna go ahead and cut our liner. I'm going to use the same fabric because this is double brush poly with a really great stretch and recovery percentage, so I should be good to go. By the way, this double brush poly came from August Closet. If you were wondering, this is such a gorgeous rust color. I'm obsessed. All right, before I cut it, I'm gonna tell you what I'm going to do with this. So there's a couple different ways you can do this liner piece. The top piece, we're only going to attach that liner piece to our bodice. We're gonna leave that top piece just kind of hanging there, and we're going to add a waistband, we're gonna add a band to that outer piece so that it keeps it in right here so it doesn't just fly open. So we're just gonna add a band on there, and I'm gonna show you how to figure out how long you wanna cut out that band. But for the lining piece, it's going to fit against our body and it's going to go to the skirt. So you could do it different ways. If you're using a fabric, a nice stretch knit fabric, you could just use and cut out a couple slits right here that you can pull down that fabric. You could cut circles underneath it, and it would just fit like the circles and then the overlay, and that would be just fine. It'd be easy. You don't even have to really even hem the fabric because, like I said, it's a knit fabric, so that would be just fine. You could go ahead and sew it all together, and then at the end try it on and mark where you want to make those slits or those circles. That would be just fine. I'm doing it a little bit different. I'm going to slash my pattern piece and add about an inch overlap to it, and then I'm going to, from right here from the side, and I'm going to slash my pattern and I'm going to overlap it. So half an inch here, half an inch there to overlap that inch. And then I'm going to sew it together so that it has an overlap that you can just open up when you want to open it up, The reason why I'm doing that is because this is double brush poly, which is a little bit of a slimmer fitting fabric. And I don't want to just have two holes on the liner piece that might show through. It might not, it probably won't because it's a very thin fabric on the inside as well. But I just thought that this would give, I don't know, I just like that envelope kind of look. It's up to you, whatever you want to do. It would be easier if you just cut the circles out. Again, up to you 100%. I just want to show you the most important part, which is how to attach and how to do the band so that can be lifted up. All right, so I've got my pattern piece. I've got my fabric and ready and my pattern piece ready. I'm gonna cut right below the arm side right here. This is where I'm going to add that inch, and then you can figure out where you want to cut it later. You could try it on. Whoop. All right, so I'm adding an inch right here. Okay, and I'm gonna cut around that. All right, while I'm right here, I'm gonna go ahead and make that slit right in between those two right here. Now, if you wanted to, you can go ahead and hem that slit right there so that you have two hem sides and then overlap it. I'm not going to hem it. I'm gonna leave it. If you are going to hem it, you may want to add a little bit more depending on how much you're gonna hem it, because I want to overlap it. So if you are going to hem it half an inch, there you ate up your inch. So you might want to add another inch or a half an inch to overlap them. It is up to you. I'm not gonna hem it because this is a knit fabric and it's just fine. I'm gonna grab these two pieces that I just cut and I'm going to overlap it. I want this top piece to go on top, so I'm gonna overlap it like so. So here's my half an inch overlap on the top, so I'm gonna overlap them half an inch right here, which will take away that inch that I just cut. Now you can go to your sewing machine and put in a basting stitch here at the end so that when you sew it together, it will stay down. You see that this is gonna be like this. What you can do is, if you want to, you can sew up a little bit, like from here to here, like sew that together so that it stays right here, and the only part that opens up is this middle part. You could even put a stitch here in the middle to hold it together, so you only open up like a piece, and this is closed right here and open up right here. So I might actually do that. That's a great idea. It just came to me, because then this part won't fold down when with the weight of the dress, of the skirt. So I am gonna put a stitch right here. I'm gonna put a few stitches, like zigzag stitch here and a couple zigzag stitches here to kind of strengthen up to like this point right here. So then this will be closed and this will be closed, and then you'll pull this down and it'll open like this. I hope that makes sense. After I do that, I am going to go ahead and work on my other piece on my neckband, on my waistband. I'll show you that in a minute. All right, I put that one aside. This is my outer piece. And the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna measure my outer piece. Sometimes you can just stand up the tape, the measuring tape, to go around it and measure how wide that is. Mine is 19 inches wide. Let me make sure. I'm gonna measure again. All right, so I measured it 19, and if I times that by 0.85, that will give me 16 inches. Let me try it. Let me make sure. I'm not a math person, so I want to make sure I tell you correctly. And for all y'all out there that are math people, 16.15, so it's pretty close. All right, so 16.15. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a band. When I fold it, I want that band to be about 1.5 inches. So if I want the band to be 1.5 inches when I fold it, that's 3 inches. And then I want to have seam allowance. So I'm going to cut the band at 3.5 wide. So that way it gives me a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and it gives me 1.5 inches. Okay, and that reason why I'm doing that, I'm gonna explain it to you because my brain works differently, and I want you all to know what I'm doing. So I want my band to be 1.5 inches wide here at the bottom. If I want that to be, or is that gonna be too wide? 1.5 inches. Let's look at it. Honestly, you can make it however wide you want your band to be. 1.5 inches. That might be a little wide. And let's go with 1.5 inches, that's fine. Okay, if I want my band to be 1.5 inches and I'm going to be folding my band over wrong sides together to create the band, then I'm going to have 3 inches, 1.5 inches and 1.5 inches. Now I want to add seam allowance, which is 1/4 inch. So it's going to be 1/4 inch on each side, so that's 1/2 inch. So I'm going to make my band for 3.5 inches the width, and then the length is going to be 16.15 is what I think I said. So let's cut that out. All right, now I have my band. I'm gonna find the middle of so we're gonna prep this front piece because we're going to sew it just like we would sew it together, except for we're not going to sew them together at the waist. All right, here's my middle piece, and I'm gonna find the middle piece of my band as well. Fold it wrong sides together and find my middle piece. And this band, really, you can make it like a different color, an accent color, make it sort of cute. And then I'm just gonna stretch it out to go to the edge. I wanted to give it a little bit of stretch so that when it's sitting here, it sits tight and doesn't just, you know, flutter up. So that's why we're stretching it out a little bit. Now, if this doesn't work out, if it's too tight, then I'll let you know at the end. That way you make your band just a little bit bigger. So it's not so tight here, so clenching. Okay, so now I'm gonna sew that up, and I'm going to go ahead and prep also my liner. So I'll have my liner and my outer prepped, and then sewing the rest of it is just like sewing the 90s dress at a regular time. So I'm gonna show you that. I'm gonna start with this liner piece. I'm going to do a zigzag stitch. You can top stitch it however you want to, but I'm gonna do a zigzag stitch here in the middle part first. Okay, so there is that. So hopefully you'll keep that down. And then I'm going to do it at the both of the corners, and I'm probably gonna get in like 1.5 inches to 2 inches. I probably do a little bit more than that. I could probably go in about 1 to 2.5 inches or so, because then you'll be this opening, maybe 3 inches. I added some pins to help me keep this in check. All right, so these will overlap like so, and then you will just be able to lift it up and open it up for nursing access on both sides. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and steam that band that I attached at the bottom. I think that 1.5 inches is perfection. I am super excited about this. I think it's super cool. Super cool. All right, now we're basically going to be doing the same thing from now on that we do on our regular 90s dress. So we're gonna grab our front and back and place it right sides together at the shoulder seams. The outer with the outer, liner with the liner. Next, we're going to be sewing our necklines. Now, usually for the 90s dress, you would sew them right sides together. Now, we would sew them right sides together because the right side would be on the inside of the dress, right? But we don't want this liner right side to be on the inside of the dress. We want it at the end, when we're done sewing it together, we want this right side to be up. So instead of it facing our body, the nice side facing our body, which is what the 90s usually does, and your seams are encased, we want this to be facing out, because when we lift up our liner piece, our outer piece, we want to be able to see this nice fabric, right? It doesn't matter if it's touching your body, you don't want the wrong side. So we're going to treat the wrong side of this as the right side, because that's what's going to touch your body. So this wrong side is going to touch your body instead. So I know it sounds kind of confusing, but let's go with it. So what you want to do is you want to grab your liner piece is going to be facing up, and then your outer piece is going to be facing down right on top of it. So now I've got my outer and my liner facing each other, right sides together, which really isn't, but it is for this intensive purpose. I hope that that makes sense. And if it's not making sense to you, just go with it. And then once we turn it around, hopefully it'll all make sense and you'll be like, oh, I see what you mean. I'll show you when we're there. So once we're done with this, the part that does the nursing hack, I'm gonna go fairly quickly with the rest of the assembly of the dress. So if you need a more detailed version of how to sew up this 90s dress, check out our sewing tutorial for the 90s dress. Also, I'm using a serger for my neckband. Some people rather use a sewing machine to have less bulk, but I don't think it gives it too much bulk, and I love using my serger, so that's what I'm going to do. All right, so here it is. Once we turn it right side, as you can see, here is my liner piece ready to be sewn together, and here's my outer piece. So that way, once that's sewn to the dress and this gets lifted up, you'll see, here it is, right sides. So the inside will show the wrong side, which usually on the 90s dress, the inside shows the right side. Hope that makes sense. All right, so now we're gonna attach our sleeves, and we're gonna put both liner and outer together when we're attaching those sleeves. Alrighty, our dress is coming along nicely, and we're basically almost done. We're going to grab our skirt, and we're going to find the half, because what we're going to do now is gather our skirt front and back to fit the bodice. So I'm gonna go in and put in a gathering stitch at the top of our front skirt and our back skirt, and then we're gonna gather it the width of our bodice. Now, the only difference between this nursing friendly 90s dress and a regular 90s dress is that usually the regular 90s dress, you would be attaching the front skirt to the liner and the outer, both of them, but we're not going to be attaching it to the outer. So we're only going to be attaching it to the right side, to the liner, I'm sorry. So I'm going to move this outer out of the way, and we're just going to attach it to the liner. That is the only difference. So I'm gonna go gather both of my skirts, then I'll make them the size of my waist, and then I'm gonna attach them right sides together, to the front, just to the liner, to the back, to both. Then we sew the sides together, hem, and we're done. All right, I'm doing a basting stitch, which is a long straight stitch to gather, but there are different ways of gathering, and we have a video on how to gather different ways, so you can check that out. All right, I'm gonna show you just how I'm going to attach this. I'm gonna grab my liner piece, my front liner piece. I'm gonna fold it. All right, y'all, so now I marked my middle piece of my liner piece on the front, and then I grab my skirt, and I'm going to gather it the width of that front piece and sew it on, and then I'm gonna do the same for the back. Now, if you wanted to put some clear elastic on here to help with stability and keep it together in place a little bit better, you can definitely add some clear elastic on here. And we do have a video on how to attach that. So if you want to go find that video and watch how easy it really is to attach a clear elastic. I'm not going to do that on this one. I think it's going to be fine. But you know, I might end up having to come back and do it later if I feel like it needs it, and which will be a whole lot harder to do. I would say if your skirt is gonna be heavy, I guess I'm thinking that it's gonna be fine because this double brush poly is very light. But if I was gonna use a heavier fabric for my skirt, then I would add that clear elastic for sure. Now for the back, I'm attaching it to both layers. Alrighty, now we're going to sew our sides and then hem and be done. Okay, when you're gonna sew your sides, you will sew that outer piece in there. That's when we're connecting that piece. So first we're gonna match at that armpit seam and go down the sleeve. And then when you get here, your back and your backs will be together, but your fronts won't. So you're gonna grab your front and put it on right there. If you wanna baste it on to make sure that it's not gonna come out and you're gonna have your band peeking out or something, it's going to have to be attached right there. And here's your other side. So you want to make sure that you catch those 4 layers, 2 fronts, 2 backs together. And so we're going all the way down, and we're gonna do that on both sides. Now all we've got left to do is to hem our dress and our sleeves. All right, friends, how adorable did this dress turn out? I love it. I'm still debating if I want to cut it a little bit shorter, like hem it a little bit higher up. I did add length to the pattern because I am taller. My sister's less tall as me, so I like to usually add a little bit of length because I'd rather just be able to take it up. So let me know below what you think. Should I leave the length or should I take it up a little bit so it'll be above the knee? I actually really love the band. Even if it wasn't nursing friendly, I think this little band detail looks super cute. It kind of brings the waist in. I love that. And I put it on undershirt so I could show you just what it looks like on the inside. So as I lift this up, because we used the right side out method, you see the nice fabric on here, and then you've got the 2 openings that you can pull down and be able to nurse from. Then you just put it right back up, pull that right back down, and we're ready to go. I love it. I am obsessed with this hack. I think it's so easy, but it's so helpful for the nursing mothers in your life. I hope that you love this tutorial. Please comment, like, share, subscribe if you haven't so you never miss any of our videos. And come find us on Facebook and Instagram so you can share what you're making and you can be inspired just like I was. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!